Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Hello, cocktail enthusiasts and baseball aficionados. Welcome back to another episode of Giant Cocktails Midweek Review. I'm your ever-reliable host, Matthew, the Dugout Maestro Henry. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only, the Sultan of Swizzle Sticks, the High Commissioner of Cocktails, the man who can calculate a batting average while perfecting a Manhattan, my brother, Ben, the monarch of mixology, Henry. Let's dive into this week's games highlights and sip on some grand concoctions. Played ball and pour those drinks. How you doing, Sultan of Sizzle Sticks?
I'm doing pretty good. A batting average is rye divided by sweet vermouth.
The only time I can calculate somebody's batting average is when they've had 10 at-bats.
Yeah.
After that, it's I don't know, just look up at the board.
It's actually easiest when they have 100 at-bats.
This is true. Yeah. Yes. But at that point, it's like I've already forgotten like how many at-bats they've got. So, you know.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, math is hard for some people.
It's very hard.
You know what's interesting about batting average, Matthew, is I feel like it's one of those stats that we all like, oh, people have been poo-pooing for the last 20 years. But I think it's making a little bit of a comeback. Yeah. Because it's like at the end of the day, you're like, if you can't get a hit.
Still all about hitting, right? Yeah.
Yeah, what good are you? What good are you if you can't get a hit?
Yeah.
San Francisco Giants, especially when there's runners in scoring position.
Anyway, we'll talk about that in a little bit. What are you drinking today, Ben?
Well, thank you for asking, Matthew. That is very kind of you. Today, I am drinking it's not a real cocktail. It's actually had 2 ingredients in it. But the reason I'm drinking it, Matthew, is because I've been reading these articles on the internets. And I guess one of the things to do when you write about spirits is to declare what the cocktail of the summer is going to be. And I keep reading all these different articles about all of these different cocktails. And I saw one and I thought of you because I was like, oh, wow, this is right up my brother's alley. And it is the Carajillo. Specifically, I am making a Carajillo Puesto. Now, what is a Carajillo? It's basically coffee and liquor. It's basically an Irish coffee, except it's Mexican. And in Mexico, they make their Carajillos with a Spanish liqueur. You know it. It's called Licor 43. So today I am drinking 2 ounces of Licor 43 on ice in a rocks glass, and then I topped that by layering it via a spoon with 2 ounces of espresso. Hot espresso, like fresh off the...
Oh, okay. Wow.
Fresh from your in-home barista's area. I let mine have she's got a little 5x5 foot area where she's allowed to live. We let the dog go in there. She seems to enjoy that. But anyway, she made me a hot, fresh espresso, and then I just poured that over the top of my Licor 43, and that's how I made the Carajillo Puesto.
Yeah, all right. Well, that sounds very interesting. I am drinking today, also using Licor 43, and I didn't plan it. We didn't plan it. But this weekend, I was having dinner with a special someone, and we happened to go to the Flamingo Hotel in Santa Rosa.
Yes, we did.
And they have a bar there called the Lays Away Bar. It's got an interesting mix of cocktails, but one of them was called the Maneki-Neko. So I am making what I'm calling a Maneki-Neko-ish, because I don't really know the exact specs. But what it calls for is, what in this one that I'm doing is 2 ounces of Sesame-infused Bourbon, a half ounce of Licor 43, and a half ounce of Cocchi Torino sweet vermouth, and then 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. And you put all those in a mixing glass with ice. You give them a good long stir. Like you want it to be, you need a little dilution in this thing for a good 40 seconds or so. And then you're going to strain it into a rocks glass over a large chunk of ice and express some orange oils from an orange peel over the top, and then place the peel in with the glass. I will say that I just soaked my bourbon in, took 4 ounces of bourbon and I stuck it in a mason jar with about a tablespoon of toasted sesame seeds, and I let them sit overnight. It's a unique, interesting cocktail, the Maneki-Neko-ish. Yeah. All right. Well, so those are the cocktails. What are we talking about today, Ben? Well, today I think we need to talk about BoMel. It was a rough week for BoMel, or at least the Arizona series has been. I'm sure it's carrying over from the Yankees series, but he's had a rough 6 to 7 days last week. And so we're going to talk a little about that. We're going to talk about the return of Austin Slater and the demotion of Luis Matos. And then, of course, we're going to finish up with some topical lightning round topics. So, folks, today is Wednesday, June 5th, as we record this podcast. The Giants are 30-33. And honestly, folks, I actually couldn't believe that we were that close to 500. I was expecting like 30-36. So when I read that, I actually felt a little optimistic when I saw that they were only 30-33.
Yeah, Matthew, I saw an article in MLB, the MLB app, that was talking about these 10 teams that still have a chance to make the playoffs, even though they suck. And I got really mad because the Giants weren't listed in there, and I was kind of pissed off. And then I realized that the way that you got on this list is that Fangraphs had to say that you had a less than 30% chance of making the playoffs.
Oh.
And the Giants have a 35% chance. They didn't qualify. They weren't sucky enough. And you know who was on that list? The D-bags. And I think the problem is that this team has programmed us. After that awful start they got off to, we just can't get that stank out of our system,
Well, because every time you start to feel good, it gets stinky again. So it's
true.
Hard.
This is true. This is true.
You put a little Febreze on there, and then all of a sudden the wet dog comes back and lays on it.
That's right. You're like, oh man. You're like, why does my blanket always smell like dog? Because you have a dog. That's why. That's why. Because you have a dog, and that's why your blankets and everything in your house smells like dog.
All right. Well, we're gonna go with that analogy. So the last 3 games have been against the Arizona D-bags. Monday was a walk-off home run. But it didn't really feel like the Giants were ever going to win that game anyway.
No.
It's just it's disappointing when you see a walk-off, and I felt bad for Randy Rodriguez, but really, it's just it was kind of the inevitable.
They did us a favor.
Yeah,
they did us a favor by taking us down early.
Yeah, right. We didn't have to go suffer through the Manfred runner and all that. So that was
which was not going to get driven in.
Exactly. Well, the second game, Ben, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
This was the first game this year that I didn't watch any part of the game. And part of it was because of the gut punch the night before, but mostly it's because I had a better offer. And so I felt like, I'll watch it later. I'll watch it later. And then it was so bad that I was like, I don't want to watch that.
Why would I want to watch
punishment.
that?
Yeah, exactly. So I gave myself permission to miss that game. But I did watch the BoMel interviews afterwards and all that. So
the BoMel interviews were quite refreshing.
Yes. Let's talk about that. So BoMel, when we're watching BoMel, it's hard not to compare him to Stepdad.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of this juxtaposition between Gabe Kapler and BoMel, and Gabe Kapler with his perfectly coiffed beard and sipping his whiskey while he talks to the reporters would always be very coy about his answers and very like, well, they're professionals. We're going to turn this around. No one's working harder. Just always playing the placater, I guess. Right. And
well, he was just speaking words to fill time without really saying anything.
Yeah.
He would be like, yeah, we didn't have some good at bats and we didn't have the results that we were looking for. And then they'd be like, well, what are you going to communicate to the team? And he's like, well, they're all professionals. They know what they need to do. They know what they're supposed to be doing. And, at the time we didn't necessarily know this, but the answer was like he wasn't going to communicate squat to the team because he doesn't like to talk to, people.
That's
I'm
right.
guessing. And was only talking to the media because, the job required it. Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. That is the kind of stuff that we got out of Stepdad.
But that's not what we got from BoMel on Tuesday night.
No.
And maybe before we get into the BoMel remarks, maybe we should just remind people of Tuesday. How would you characterize their level of play, Ben?
Right. Well, I did watch that game, Matthew.
Okay.
And the way I would characterize the way that the Giants have played for the last few games is hot garbage. And
which is different than cold garbage. Hot garbage is a whole other level.
Hot garbage is a whole nother level. It is hot garbage that is partially composting.
So it stinks as well
right,
as hot.
But it's also got a lot of diapers in it,
Yeah.
So it's pretty nasty. It's pretty nasty. And it's on the verge of catching on fire. That's the kind of baseball the Giants were playing. And on Tuesday night, it did catch on fire. Right? So let's go to the replays of the game.
Yeah, that would actually be good for me because I didn't watch. So yeah, so
I'm going to watch it on video.
Okay.
And let's see.
Give us a little like play by play. Give us a little update on what you're watching.
Right. Well, I'll give you Ben's interpretation. Okay. There's a batted ball. Casey, come on. Casey, you should have had that. Whoa, they gave that a hit? That's ridiculous. Wow. I guess the Arizona scorer likes giving his guys hits. Okay. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. What? Casey! That's even worse. And that's also a hit. Right. Of course it is. Of course it is. All right. Okay. Well, nope. The Giants are up to bat now, Matthew.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
I heard they had him on the ropes all the time. Like there's a lot.
There's another walk. There's been 3 walks, Matthew. There are 3 walks and the bases are loaded and it's happened twice. I'm doing 2 innings simultaneously at the same time.
Okay.
I'm watching both of them at the same time and they've done the same thing and there are no outs. And now here they come. The parade of clowns with the bases loaded and nobody out. They work the count. They get the count in their favor. It's 3-1 and then what are they doing? They're swinging at hot garbage. Hot garbage. Yep. And look, there's Jorge Soler right in the middle of it. Yeah, that's what it was like, Matthew. It was just baseball players not making plays they should be able to make. And then, I know we know this offense can't score runs. Like we know that better than anybody, right? Like we talk about this on the show a ton. And I'm like, this is just normal. But what happened on Tuesday night was infuriating because this team struggles to get runners on base. And yeah, because they just can't hit very well, like they struggle to get hits when runners are on base. But these scenarios where you had a pitcher who was not pitching well, who couldn't throw strikes, and you were either swinging at bad pitches that were out of the strike zone, or worse, you were missing fatty fastballs right down the middle. And it just looked like they didn't care. It looked like they were not aware of the moment.
Which is exactly what BoMel said after the game. Right? I mean, BoMel let him have it. He did. It's been a long time since I've seen a manager that upset.
He communicated clearly.
He did.
To the
not
media.
only to the media, but apparently to the team as well.
Yes, before that. Like somebody asked him, like, what did you say to the team? And his response was, "Oh, I'm not going to talk about what we said to the team." I'm like, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Because he can't repeat it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Can you imagine, like, the scenario here, Matthew, right? Like, you just went through this whole long period of your mid-teen years, early teen years, where stepdad was your father figure, and you're like, you're not my dad. And then finally he's gone, and you're like, I don't have to deal with that weirdo anymore. And then your mom starts dating BoMel. And, like, he's so folksy and down to earth, and he's so nice, but he also knows things. And then one day he's yelling at you, And that's when you know, oh my God, this old man is right. I am a up. They got the up talk. Got the you're a up talk from BoMel. And then he was like, I can't talk about what that means. And what he told them all was, that means I gave him that you're a up talk. And then he proceeded to tell everybody how much of a up they were.
Well, you got to admire that, right? You got to like that he's not going to mince words. He's not going to, tell people things that they want to hear. It wasn't acceptable, and he wasn't going to beat around the bush. And I think that's the type of leadership that a 3-time manager of the year brings to the table, right? When he sees something that needs to be addressed, he's going to address it. And that's leadership. And something we hadn't seen in a long time. And so it will be interesting to see how the team responds. They certainly responded well today. Hopefully this is a turning point. Maybe we could look back and be like, hey, that time that BoMel got pissed was the turning point.
Right. Well, and he came in with more fire today, right? And so first of all, the team did respond, right? They worked walks. They didn't swing at bad pitches. They let Jordan Montgomery get himself into trouble. And then Wilmer, I think Wilmer was very locked into that at bat. And I think he was looking for that get it in breaking ball that he hit out, because Jordan Montgomery was going back to that when he felt like he needed a strike.
Yeah. Which is what's interesting, because Soler could not handle that pitch, but Wilmer was wary for it.
Yeah. But I think that's a skill problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a knowledge problem. And then they tacked on some more runs at the end of the game, too, with, Conforto and Estrada. So a whole different slew.
And Soler hit a home run, death late. So
yeah, and Soler did hit a home run. Nobody was on base because obviously. Yeah. Jorge, come on, man. Come on.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see where this team goes based on, maybe again, then maybe this was a turning point. We shall see. But I think it's time to transition to the big news of the day, was a roster move when Austin Slater was reinstated from the IL from his concussion, and Luis Matos was the odd man out and sent back to Sacramento. And we had talked about this in previous episodes about this was probably going to be the call, because even just last week, Farhan went and said that Ramos has played himself into an everyday role, and you're definitely not taking out your best hitter and sending him down. And so Matos, on the other hand, has been struggling. He had that one really good week, and then if you look at his overall numbers for this year, they're not good. They're not good at all.
No, they're not good. They're not good. And he was definitely regressing. And, we talked about this when they first came up and broke through, right? We were like, how many of these are just flashes in the pan versus, actual guys who are establishing themselves? And Elliott is establishing himself. And Matos was a flash in the pan. It was very Casey Schmidt-like.
Yeah.
Right? And the good news, though, is that between these two guys, you'd rather see the 24-year-old be the one who's sticking and the 22-year-old be the one that has to go back to the minor leagues. Mm-hmm. Although, honestly, I'd rather see them both stick. Well, what I'd like to see is something like Willie McCovey-like, right? Because he was 22 when he made his debut with the Giants. But I guess asking for a Willie McCovey type guy is asking for a little too much.
Let's ask for an all-time Hall of Famer, Ben. Let's just...
Well, why not? Why not? Why can't I have one of those every year?
Or at least every 5 to 10 years?
Well, see, if you say every 10 years, now we're talking
Buster territory.
Buster,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. So there's your one.
See, it's got to be like every 4 years, Matthew. I want a Hall of Famer every 4 years.
The Yankees?
Matthew, no team has more Hall of Famers than the Giants. Yeah, fair enough. Point is, Matos was regressing.
Yes.
We all saw this coming, even though I don't believe this is in the best interest of the Giants. And I'm not a Slater hater, but there are a lot of Slater haters out there. And they're probably just absolutely livid this has happened. But we could all see this coming.
Could. And I get, Slater hasn't been good for almost a full season at this point. The first half of 2023, he was actually really good for his career. I mean, let's be clear. I mean, Slater has been one of the best hitters against left-handers in Major League Baseball for the last 5-6 years. And his career is a 127 weighted runs created plus against left-handers. But in the second half of 2023, it was a 77 weighted runs created plus. And so far in 2024, prior to today, because he did get a hit off left-hander, it's 45. So he's really struggled. But at the other hand, you look at Matos and his weighted runs created plus this year against lefties, and it was only 80. You look at both and you're gonna pick the guy that's been there. And the reason you're gonna do that is because if you let go of Slater, then you lose your depth. And so, then what do you do? When something happens to Matos, and now you're struggling. And so to find depth. So I think this was the right call, and it may not be the permanent one. Who's to say that Slater, isn't DFA'd at some point this year and Matos brought back up?
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing. Luciano is probably going to go back to AAA when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Right? Because Ahmed is going to come up. He's going to be the starter. I mean, and I just don't think it makes sense to carry Luciano as your backup.
Right. No, you need him to get at bats, and you need him to get reps. Yeah.
Right. And so he needs to play every day. And so it's probably going to be Schmidt and or Wisely who sticks around instead of Luciano. And so we're going to be in exactly that situation that I bemoaned earlier in an earlier episode, which is you had Luciano, Ramos, and Matos all come up and kind of invigorate this team when they were really struggling and all the outfielders got hurt. And now when the dust is all settled, the only one who's sticking around is Elliot Ramos and the others are all back in AAA. And that's kind of disappointing. But I will say this, right? I get it. On paper, keeping Austin Slater, it makes sense. But Austin Slater needs to show up right now. Right now.
Yeah.
Not a week from now, not 2 weeks from now, not 30 days from now. He needs to be here right now. He needs to produce, and if he doesn't produce in the next 21 days, then he should be gone, and yeah, the Dodgers are going to probably pick him up and he's going to be a Dodger. Whatever, I don't care.
Well, that's a good point. I think that you could say that for a lot of the veterans, right? I mean, now's the time. I mean, especially as they're coming back, they're replacing these young guys. They're filling those roles again. Conforto's back. We're seeing all of them come back. Now's the time. And this is what you're getting paid for. You were the one that was supposed to be the starter. These guys held down the fort while you were gone. Now you need to show up. And yep. That will tell. The time will tell whether that happens. And if it doesn't, then the season's done.
Right. Well, it's put up or get lost. Perform or go somewhere else. And I don't feel sorry for you at all because you're going to get paid millions of dollars whether you play for the Giants this year or not.
Nobody's homeless after getting let go by the Giants.
No, I don't care. I don't care about your, how sad that is for your career. You were supposed to be producing, you're getting paid to produce, and you're not. Like, I would rather watch Matos and Luciano suck than watch Slater and Ahmed suck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Conforto, Soler, Ahmed, Slater, they're all only entertaining if they win.
Yeah.
Right? The young guys are at least entertaining because you'd be like, well, they're getting better, they're getting reps, and I can at least talk myself into believing that they'll be better next year and that this experience is helpful for them. So at least there's a story there. So these guys got to win. If they don't win, they got to go. Agreed.
And I want to end with just one last question. Did you ever think that the season could ride on Nick Ahmed being healthy? Like, it's just like we can't find somebody to catch a ground ball at short. And we didn't even think about it for the first, 30 games. And so it really drives home the importance of defense at shortstop position and just how much we've missed that and just how many games have we given away based on just the defensive play alone at shortstop.
No, we need Nick Ahmed back badly. And
that's so weird to hear you say that, though. That's like, wow.
Right. Well, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. And especially, he's better than Crawford, too, defensively anyway now.
Oh, yeah.
So, he is literally the best choice that they could have gotten. Yeah. And it's absurd because even when he signed in, I was like, I wasn't even sure he was going to have a chance of being the backup.
Right. He catches the ball so darn good, Ben.
Yeah.
It's time for a lightning round.
All right. Yes. All right, Ben, here it is.
Let's do it.
Is Ramos a never will be?
That's a ridiculous thing to say. I don't know who would ever say that. That's complete. Matthew, it's insulting. That is just complete crap.
Why, yeah, exactly. Why would those words come out of my mouth, right? Yes, yeah.
Yeah, like, I can't believe you. I can't believe you. Is he a never will be? Elliot Ramos is a right now. That's what he is.
Okay. I picture a universe where Ramos is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And 15 years from now, Ben, where are you going to be?
I'm going to go to his induction ceremony.
That's right. Yes, you are.
I'm going to hitchhike, and I'm going to buy a scalped ticket. I'm going to sneak in whatever I need to do. I will go.
Wearing your Elliot Ramos San Francisco jersey from back in the see-through jerseys from back in 2024.
That's right. The see-through white jerseys. Yeah. That one year they were made by Fanatics.
All right. Well, I had to put that in there because, Ramos is on fire. He is his OPS is one of the top 3 or 4 in all outfielders with at least a minimum of 100 at bats. He's playing lights out. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better stretch. And we're talking about the season, not just in the last week or so. So he is he's quickly becoming an everyday player. And that's the kind of thing that we've been talking about for a while, right? We want these guys to come up and cement their role. And it looks like we're finally seeing that with Ramos.
Here we go. Elliot Ramos is gonna finish top 10 in MVP voting this year. Unfortunately, he exceeded his rookie limits last year, so he can't be Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Does that make up for me calling him a never will be?
Yeah, I guess maybe if he does finish in the top 10, will you drink a Negroni?
I will drink a Negroni.
All right.
For top tenor Elliot Ramos.
All right. There's folks, we've made this bet a few times, and I think we're forgetting all the times. So if you remember what Ben was supposed to drink a Negroni for, let us know, because I think we've forgotten. So anyway,
we're pretty sure that I made a bet. Hey, Elliot, also, by the way, there's nothing wrong with 11th place, buddy. There's nothing. That's very respectable.
It is.
11th is very. I'll take it.
I also want to think that one of those bets was something around Brett Wisely, I'm sure, but
probably
anyway.
It probably
all right.
was.
Next question, Ben. Alex Cobb is 1,205 years in dog years. Is it time to just let it rip? You get to be like Methuselah, and it doesn't matter if you're saving your arm for next year, right?
Yeah. How many years do you have left, Alex? This team still has a chance to make it to the playoffs. Why not just, a
little discomfort,
just get out there and let it rip, buddy. Just let it rip. Let it rip. You can get a cortisone shot every day. I'm sure that's not good for you.
Yeah. But, it's not like you're worried about how your arm's going to be in 5 years.
Yeah. And you got millions of dollars to work that stuff out later. You just hire a personal masseuse. I have a personal barista, and it's not nearly as expensive as you would think.
All right, final question. How stupid do you have to be to bet on baseball as a professional baseball player? And then how even more stupid do you have to be to win only 4% of your bets?
That is very interesting, right? So those of you who don't know, there were about 5 players who were suspended for a year for betting on baseball and are in the baseball. One of them was in Oakland A right now, or was. He's not right now. And then one guy, a Padre/Pirate, got suspended for life because he bet on the Pirates while he was a Pirate. And so, yeah, they were all suspended because they bet on baseball. How stupid do you have to be, Matthew? Pretty stupid. You have to be pretty stupid. But I think we also have more evidence that they're stupid other than that they just bet on baseball.
Well, of course.
They also can't win at betting. That's the thing that blew me away. They all sucked. Not one of them was even close to breaking even.
And folks, there are plenty of ways to bet. And if you are a really knowledgeable baseball person, you could at least win maybe 47% of the time.
Well, sports betting is winnable gambling.
Right. So
sports betting is winnable gambling. So, it's not good people can do that.
So anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there because wow. You don't see that very often, and it's just
I can't and you can't even have pity for these guys.
No, not at all.
You know, like, but I don't know. What's their excuse? It was so easy. I downloaded the app on my phone. How could it possibly be bad and wrong?
Well, Ben, next up, our next opponents are Bruce Bochy's Texas Rangers. Also struggling a little bit. Going into today, they were 29-32. Second place in the AL West, 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. So farther than the Giants are. But like the Giants, they lost their first 2 games of their 3-game series against the Tigers and were in threat of getting swept. And I didn't bother to go look to see what maybe they did before we went live today. But they beat the Tigers 9-1. So they had a little big scoring game to get that out of their system, but they're also struggling. So it'll be interesting to see the Giants and the Rangers and how that works out. But these are the games though that are winnable and that we should be that we need to be winning, frankly. All right. Notable players that have played for both teams, Ben. Will Clark, Hunter Pence, and Rob Nen. I hadn't realized that until I was there. It wasn't a lot of games, so it might have been like the end of his career kind of thing. But
those are 3 good Giants.
They are really 3 really good Giants. And then of course Bruce Bochy.
Yeah. I feel like he's past his prime. I feel like he's all washed up. We're gonna.
Yeah, he was only in the World Series last year.
Yeah. What is he? Hasn't won a World Series since then. I mean, come on.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. He hasn't won a World Series. And
it's a whole different baseball season. Yeah. No, I don't know. This has a feeling like we should win, but we won't win.
That's pretty much every, series, Ben.
Yeah, that's the 2024 Giants, isn't it?
You want to play 500 on the road, though, so we got to win a couple.
Yeah, well, Austin Slater's got to come through.
That's right.
It's got to come through.
All right, you got to let us out here now.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. And that's a wrap on the midweek review. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday with the big show, where the cocktails will be stronger and the rants will be longer. If you can't wait that long to get your fix, feel free to reach out to us on the social medias. You can find us in Zuckland, a.k.a. Instagram and Threads, where we go by the username Giant Cocktails. You can also find us on the Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, and Mastodon. Do you still check Mastodon, Matthew? Don't lie.
Sometimes, when I remember.
Okay. At the same username. Don't forget, you can also listen to us on YouTube, so run over there to like, subscribe, and comment. We might even possibly check that too.
We do.
But most importantly, be sure to leave us a positive review, like 5 stars positive, because if it's not 5 stars, it's not positive, at your podcasting platform of choice, aka Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You were adorable today. Keep up the good work. Cheers, my friend.
Thanks, Ben. Bye, everybody.
So cute. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
You said you had your own barista, and I thought you were going to say you had your own burrito maker, and that was actually going to be more impressive to me. Like your own Chipotle guy, like behind
you mean Marco?
If I made Alex Cobb money, though, I would have my own Chipotle guy. It would just be like in the corner.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Marco's too expensive.
And I wouldn't pay extra for guac, man. I'd just be like, hey, just load that guac on.
Marco comes in once a week, because that's roughly how much it costs him to have Annabeth here the whole time. Annabeth has to stand in her 5-foot square spot and be there available 24/7.